CNBC-TV18, embarking on a quarter century of excellence.
Welcome back. You're tuned into Bazaar Morning Call. Well, we have listed all the top stocks for you. Let's get some fundamental analysis going, though. Prakash Diwan joins us on the show. Hi, Prakash. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining in. Prakash, tell us about the GMR group. You know, your GMR Airports, where you had a large fund, GQG, coming in there and taking a big chunk. The stock rallied big time. What's your view on that one? And also the other one is GMR Power and Urban, which is into smart metering. They're talking about a fundraise. Have you looked at that one? Your view?
Good morning, Nigel. So, GMR Airports, we spoke when Nimesh broke this news, story. And just imagine a marquee investor putting less than 2% and things kind of can fire up so much. That is exactly the potential of this particular area of interest for people. Airport infrastructure is just bound to go. And anybody who's taken a flight recently can tell you that all airports are chock-a-block. There's enough volume growth and enough pricing power that's coming back. So I wouldn't be surprised if, the way the Mumbai airport has always managed to fetch a premium in terms of pricing, that same kind of a thing could get replicated across the more popular ones for GMR. So, I think it's a very positive space, but the stock has run up. So as I said earlier, you will have to wait for a decent level to get in, so the risk reward is favorable. On GMR Urban Power and Urban Infrastructure, I think it's a big change that's happened is with the GMR Energy consolidation. They've hiked their stake to 87%, so it's no more a JV, but it's actually a subsidiary, which means all the business that GMR Energy has been doing will start kind of adding up to the balance sheet and the P&L of GMR Urban. Now, that is something which is very interesting because all their hydro projects, their thermal projects, all of those which were languishing because of the kind of timing that they got into, is kind of getting corrected. They've also, had a significant debt reduction. So I look at that very positively from a turnaround perspective. You'll have to give it about a year's time. But what's happened to a JP, what's happened to some of the other beleaguered power projects, this is something which could revive in a very decent way. So the fundraise is timely. They would need fund to get deleveraged further and be able to expand wherever they've already built capacities. They can start utilizing that into the distribution grid and wherever they've got capacity. So quite positive on that. This is the stock to look at from the family rather than the airport, because the airport's already gone away. This is something which should probably get in the news more often, as I expect.
Okay, that's on GMR Infra. GMR Power suddenly come back in the news in a big way. The other big comeback is expected from a bank like HDFC Bank, right? Anyone and everyone is talking about how it could really take the Nifty higher in the next leg. Would you concur with that view, and is this a good time to be buying into that stock?
Good morning, Sonia. So I definitely feel the HDFC Bank stock could take a portfolio higher as well, given the fact that it's sitting right at the top of the most undervalued private sector bank when everything positive is being heard about and anticipated for the banking sector as a whole. I mean, just imagine from the time they cautioned about some of the metrics being softer post the merger, the stock was just kind of avoided. Everybody just got out thinking there's no timeline to effect in terms of where things could improve. And in the last 15 days, what's happened is certainly they've realized the kind of potential when you buy an HDFC Bank at sub 2 price to book, where it's always been about 4.5. It's very clear that this 150 rupees jump, this 10% move from its lows, is actually smart money that's already coming in. And something from here on, what could happen is in the next 6 to 12 months, it could actually give you a 30-40% of a move just because it's resetting itself. So there's no specific trigger it needs. Even if it makes a comeback and comes to its original space where it was always there in some of the key verticals, particularly trade finance, personal loans, I don't see any reason why it could be higher than 2,000 rupees in the next 6 to 12 months. So it's a great bet. You actually have hardly any risk from here on, and the reward definitely is very positive given the fact that the metrics are falling in place.
Metrics are falling into place. Any thoughts on Wepro? Prakash, hi, morning. There seems to be a little bit of shake-up right at the top. Now you can read it to say that so many senior leaders have left over the last 12 months. So it bodes uncertainty. You can kind of look at it from another point of view that maybe the promoters are waking up to the continued underperformance and maybe are starting to do something about it. Your thoughts?
Good morning, Prashant. Absolutely. See, these kind of exits that happen, primarily when you have somebody who's heading the finance function. I remember Mr. Dalal moving out, announcing that he's moving out, was a bit too abrupt. There's no transition plan that is still in place. I mean, we've seen how Wepro transformed itself just before COVID when, it's got the new leadership. But, styles of functioning, the kind of aggression to growth, the ability to get into newer segments, which a lot of the key players, functionaries in the company would want to see the company get into. If that's not happening, there's always some questions that will be raised. And remember, there's so much opportunity for people in the CXO level in top IT firms that it's so easy to kind of, look at something which is more aligned to your personal ambitions and goals. So I would believe this is a whole series of exits that's kind of going to cause a little bit of a rethink. How soon can the management promoters bring in that kind of a change? I'm not too sure. But then you have far better opportunities to look at within IT. So Wipro would probably have to pay the price on this on the script, at least in terms of interest levels from investors. I mean, there's no value investing that would probably come in because there are reasons for it to be underperforming, and that seemed to be a bit more sustainable.
Okay, Prakash, I wanted to ask you about Subros as well. The government has made AC truck cabins mandatory.
Yeah.
We've been hearing about this for the last few months as well. Now they're talking about October 2025. The stock as well has done pretty well. What's your view at around 450? Bulk of the good news in the price or more to come?
Oh, absolutely. Not yet, Nigel. I think, the notification that's come in was actually taken up sometime in July of this year. So it's taken almost like 6 months for it to see the light of the day. And of course, the OEMs needed time to kind of realign the designs to be able to do it. And if you see it in line with what, let's say, Tata Motors has announced, that with effect from 1st Jan, there's going to be a slight hike in the CV prices. Now, what's going to happen is all this pricing will have to, this incremental pricing will have to get passed on in a way that's, that's not going to dent the market share or the demand side. So Ashok Leyland, Tata Motors, Volvo, all of them would have planned this out in the last 6 months because this was a given. Now, Subros also has a railway trigger, which Vivek just shared with us a while back. Now, remember, they've been supplying a lot of, driver cabin air conditioning in locomotives. This is the rooftop locomotive, which is a huge opportunity. Of course, it looks like a very small order at the moment. But I think that given the ability to do air conditioning with mobility combined, they could be sitting at a very big order book from here on. We'll of course have to wait for them to share all of that. They have an analyst meet today evening, which I'm very keen to listen into. But I think it's at 450, 3,000 crores market cap, 2,800 crore sales last year, and these 6 months have been so good. I don't think it's all in the price. There's still lots to go, provided we see visibility of that translating into revenues.
All right, so we're also going to be keenly awaiting the details from that analyst meeting, but it's had a fairly strong run. It's a 50% rally that we've seen in the last 6 months for Subros, so the going is good. And of course, now additional fresh news coming in on that counter. But